In what? In-place upgrades. I won't do a poll and ask who's done in-place upgrades before, but I'm sure quite a lot of you have. Actually, we'll just raise hands here. Who on this video has been part of an in-place upgrade before? Yeah, and yeah, we all have. And I would say that the vast majority of the ones I've been involved with have been really successful. 99% of the time they're successful. And when they succeed, there's no big deal. And people are like, what was the concern about? When they fail, though, they fail spectacularly. We've had a couple clients do in-place upgrades against our advice, and we've billed way more hours fixing things after the fact than we would have if we did a side-by-side migration. In-place upgrades are just scary for a whole bunch of reasons, but I'm not going to list off the reasons. I have blog posts about this, and we'll share them with the links. But does anybody here just want to rattle off a few reasons why in-place upgrades are bad? Maybe you'll have one that I didn't even think of.
Well, the first thing I would think of is they take forever to roll back from.
Yes.
You don't have that instantaneous, let's just go back. So whether you're uninstalling your upgrade, your new version or whatever, whether you're rolling back databases from restores, that takes a lot of time. And it's a lot of time where people are very nervous because you don't have operational databases. That's probably the biggest downside.
Yep. I don't see else coming off of you. Hope Jack is.
Well, I just like the fact, like I said before, you're either getting new hardware, because if your SQL Server version is out of date, your hardware is out of date.
Amen. Yep.
And you're getting better CPUs, you're getting all of that, and you're upgrading Windows, because why are you not upgrading Windows when you're updating SQL, right? You don't want to be running SQL 2022 on Windows 2012, right? So it makes sense. And when you start combining an in-place Windows upgrade with an in-place SQL upgrade, there's just so many variables that can go wrong.
Totally. So, yeah, that's a big one. And the other one I think too for me is you don't know who built that, and you may, even if it was you still don't know who built that, because if I went back to any company I was at 15 years ago, I would love the chance to redo what I built. I was a next finish guy 15, 20 years ago. I didn't know that was bad. Nobody taught me. I was, I should say that Andy Kelly was my first manager, but I didn't install SQL for him. My second job, I had to install SQL, and it seemed like the most prudent thing to do is install all these things. I have no clue what they mean. And you have bad practices. So this is a chance to start fresh with a clean slate that's yours based on what you know today. Did I miss any reason? And the real big reason is, as a consultant, if you do an in-place upgrade, there's a chance. It's a small chance, but it's a chance that I would actually probably be willing to gamble on, that I'll make more money off of you. Like if the whole world did in-place upgrades and nobody ever did migrations, we'd lose migration money, but we'd probably make more money in cleaning up bad in-place upgrades than we would have made in doing migrations. So go ahead and do them. Keep our number and call us, or just listen to our advice, watch our videos, and do a side-by-side migration. Does anybody want to add anything else? Oh, Jeff, I see you coming off mute.
Yeah, I was just going to add, we're talking about the things that can go wrong, but even if things go right, you're still offline, right? While you're installing the new OS. Hopefully you're not doing that, but even just if you're installing a new version of SQL Server, while you're waiting 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever your hardware allows to do that in-place upgrade.
Holding your breath the whole time.
Exactly, right. Yep. And clinging to your rollback plan that hopefully you have.
Yeah, and there wouldn't be a rollback plan. You reinstall someplace and restore your databases.
Right. So with the side-by-side, in addition to all the other benefits of not having the bad things, you have the timeliness, right? You can have minimal downtime, if almost virtually none, if you depending on what your requirements are and how you want to upgrade.
Yep. Tony brings up a great point too in the comments there. It's really good to be able to do side-by-side testing, because when you do an in-place migration, you might have done that in your dev environment. If you have an exact copy of production in test and pre-prod and dev with 100% similarities in data and how it's used and testing, go ahead and type in the comments, because I want to hire you, because I don't think that person really exists. So it can be tricky. I see a question out there. Is that Peter Shire asked, do you have a standard checklist you use for your smoke test, or do you create lists unique for each upgrade? That's a great question. Back to the steps. We sort of have we don't have a generic checklist we use to smoke test, but we want to make sure they include the same things. And the reason we don't is because everybody's environment is different, whether they're using vendor apps, purchased apps, home built apps. So we don't want to dictate how somebody's testing their applications, but we want to make sure that we're testing as many functionalities as we can. We want to see SQL agent jobs run. We want to look for, like, you name the feature, and we've probably seen the miss, whether it's, oops, we forgot about the report subscriptions. Oops this, oops that. So really it should be a custom built checklist, I would say, for every client as far as what gets smoke tested. Does anybody want to, Sandra, I look to you as our checklist guru when it comes to doing things consistently. Are there things that maybe we would standardize?
For testing purposes?
Yeah, for the kind of the smoke test.
I always push it back on them that they need to they need to test their app, because there's only so much that I can do. Yep. And then they say, well, how do I test it? I'm like, well, your app, you need to test your own stuff. I can't tell you how to test your stuff.
Yeah, agreed.
So
we can look at extended events and error logs. So go ahead, David.
Yeah, I had a client recently that we did a migration for. We did, we're doing a few databases at a time just because that's the method they wanted. And part of the test that they could have done is gone through documentation, because there was an add-in that they needed to install into the server that wasn't working. It wasn't there on the new server, and so whenever we migrated it was saying it was missing it. So, but they had the documents, they had the file they needed to install, but that's something on their side that they could have checked. Each application has a different set of things to consider.
Yep. That is absolutely correct.
Yep. Just from a SQL Server side of things, testing. I mean, obviously, the obvious is make sure I can connect from the network. So we know network connections are turned on. Like Mike already said, make sure backups run successfully. Because a lot of times we recommend that you back up to a network share most of the time. So you want to make sure permissions are right there. A lot of this I've already done if we're doing a side-by-side, right? I've already done this as part of the process. And then the, my brain just, test database mail if that's used.
Yes.
Make sure that works. And sometimes that's harder than others to test because a lot of SMTP servers now block external domains without having those allowed. So you need to make sure all of that works and find out that. And then I advise the clients to say, okay, when you connect your applications, you need to test every type of functionality. You need to create a new record. You need to update a record. You need to delete a record. You need to run, your most common report in your apps. But like Sandra said, because we support so many clients, we can't know everything that they need to do in their apps. So we just say, test all the functionality in your apps as best you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it is. Agreed. Because, like I was joking about type in the chat, if you have a perfect facsimile of production everywhere, type in the chat if you have a perfect regression testing tool and script. I've been doing this a long time and I haven't really met those people. Cool.